Hey guys. Hey guys, welcome back to another video by me, your host, Ananda. I'm having a lot of congestional stuff going on and I don't want to hear about it. Today we're going to talk about emoji! Oh, hi. If you've been sent this video, you don't know how to use emojis. Or maybe you don't know how to communicate online in general. Either way, it's fine. I'll teach you. Let's face it, my generation is whack. I'm not feeling the hat. The hat needs to go. For our entire lives, we have grown up with the internet and everything that comes with it. This means that we have grown up just kind of learning and adapting. It's natural to us. But there's a lot of people out there who don't know how to do it. They don't understand the intricacies of the internet language. And that's fine. They didn't grow up with it. That's what I'm going to teach you. And by teach you, I mean break it down into oversimplified categories and scream at you for a while. And attempt to bridge the gap between our generations by sharing with you some knowledge on communicating over the internet. There's this issue that we have where people like me who have grown up with the internet and people who are like my grandparents who definitely did not grow up with the internet are now communicating via text. And while we can do it fairly effectively, in a lot of ways there seems to be something wrong with it. My grandparents have accidentally offended me many times. I'm sure I've accidentally offended them just as much. I'm rambling. The point is that if you're watching this video, you probably need to learn a little something about what I like to call texting literacy! And I'm going to teach it to you. So what is texting literacy and why do we need it? Texting literacy is basically being able to text good, clearly communicating via text. And why do we need it? Humans like to talk a lot. It is what we do all the time, extensively, in all sorts of different languages. It is important to our survival, and it is important when building relationships with other human beings. We do it so much, in fact, that we have learned how to do it all across the world via the internet, which is super cool. But now it's complicated. Like I said, humans have been communicating for a very long time. It's not just about words. When in person, we talk to each other with all sorts of stuff. We use our words and our voice, yes, but we also use gestures and we use shifts in our tone of voice. We use all different parts of our face. And so even though we're not aware of it, a tiny twitch on our cheek during an in-person conversation conveys all sorts of information that you just can't get through text. With texting, you have the words, but the words are too simple. That's where NetSpeak comes in. There are a couple different definitions for NetSpeak. I, for the purposes of this video, am using it to talk about all the different parts of internet lingo. NetSpeak adds some of that complexity that we need in our conversations. It can create a tone or some of those subtle gestures. And it can even just emphasize something that we said with words, such as, "I'm happy to hear that." But I'm getting ahead of myself. In order to teach you about NetSpeak and explain to you why sending a crying emoji in a serious condolences text is inappropriate, we're first going to break it down into categories. Category 1, punctuation. The thing I notice most often between people like me who text and people like my grandparents who text is that my punctuation is loose, if it exists at all, versus my grandparents' texts like they're going to be graded by a harsh English teacher. This is bad for the subtleties. I'm not going to talk about all punctuation, but I am going to talk about some, mainly the period. You will notice, texting many of the youths, most of them don't actually put a period at the end of the text. Wow! They'll say, "I had a fairly rough day at school today," or "I just finished reading a new book," or "I yearn once again for the blood of my enemies." And none of those will have periods at the end of their sentence, or proper punctuation. But why? It's because periods end a sentence. Periods are finalizing. There is nothing open-ended about the statement you have made. It is the difference between I decided not to go and I decided not to go, and the difference is huge. There is an incredible note of seriousness to putting a period at the end of a sentence, and nobody understands this, and it's really stressful. Please stop putting periods at the end of your sentence. Please, I think you're mad all the time. It's kind of similar for the rest of the punctuation, but not as much. Really, the thing about using perfect punctuation in your texts is that it takes up a lot of time. And the fun thing about texts is that you don't have to look at them right away. So if you're in the middle of a conversation and you're taking too long to respond, the person you're texting may put their phone down and just not look at it for a while. So if you want them to respond, you should probably get your message across in a timely manner, which means you should probably skip on the punctuation. It's okay. Your English teacher is not hiding around the corner. What the fuck? So yeah, there's punctuation for you. We did it. Congratulations to all of us. So let's move on to emojis. Emojis are complicated. And the first thing that you're going to want to know about them is that they are not intended to be serious. If you want to put off a serious tone, don't use emojis. Use a period. You don't want to be chucking out emojis willy-nilly. The only exception to this rule is when you want to chat over the phone. I don't care if you do this, or even this. Just so long as you don't do this.
Enemy spot.
Never ever do this. Because this only sends one message. A single message. It only means one thing, and that is that someone has died. Don't do it. Don't do it. Stop telling me that someone has died when you just want to talk about your new cowbell that you bought. I'm down to talk to you about your new cowbell. I'm sure it's exciting. I'm sure it's cool. I'm sure it's funky fresh. But don't tell me that you want to talk about your new cowbell by first telling me that someone is dead. If you want to call someone, you can say, do you want to have a call later? Do you want to chat? And to throw in whatever fucking emoji you want. You can throw in 6 of them. You can commit all sorts of emoji sins. Just please stop telling me that someone has died. I don't need that much cortisol right now. But in general, you don't need to use emojis all the time. Sad emojis do not mean that you are actually sad. Angry emojis do not mean that you are actually angry. Emojis are cartoons. They are fun. They're kind of silly looking. Paired with incorrect grammar, they may make you sound kind of ridiculous. And that's part of the point. Emojis lighten the mood. That's their purpose. So don't use emojis when you are trying to be serious. And don't use these ones. You got a whole keyboard of emojis. These are just not the ones for you. They are there for the tone. They can also be used for something called beat gestures. For instance, typing 3 clapping emojis right next to each other can literally signify 3 claps. Sometimes an emoji is simply meant to clarify your tone. If there is a lack of emoji, you can assume it either means that the speaker is being serious or just has kind of a neutral tone. And while yeah, there are a lot of unspoken rules about emoji, it also depends on the person. Some people prefer using the laughing emoji over saying haha. Other people, vice versa. But in general, I think these are some good rules to kind of try and follow. Please stop telling me someone has died. Why am I talking about this? That's an excellent question. I'm not a linguist, but I find this kind of thing interesting. More than that, I'm tired of our generation's fighting over this for no reason. It's a miscommunication, literally. I personally love that human beings have gone through this whole thing just to be able to talk to each other, sometimes from across the sea, sometimes from across the street. And I think that if the generations can learn to communicate better with each other, it could solve all sorts of problems. So maybe you're someone my grandparents' age who just didn't know this stuff. Or maybe you're my age and you also didn't know this stuff. If we can learn to understand texting literacy and why we are having such weird miscommunications with it, then I think it could solve a lot of those miscommunications in the future. I would love to talk about this more, but we're out of time. So for now, just learn more about texting literacy. Pay attention to what you're doing. Pay attention to how people are responding to that. Communication between humans is so important. And part of me thinks it's kind of hilarious that some of our communication hinges so much on this, but I respect it. I hope you guys enjoyed watching. I hope you guys found it interesting. I certainly did. I probably didn't describe it very well. Did I mention that I'm not a linguist? So like, comment, share, and subscribe. Anyway, bye. And I'm going to teach it to you. Me, your host. I will teach you. I will teach you about texting literacy. Just how confident are you in my ability to teach you how to learn about texting literacy? Good.